All right, guys, I want to say welcome. For those of you that are new, my name is Pat, and they let me talk here a lot, and I'm really glad that they do. And we've been talking a lot about the book of Revelation because it's the map to the future. And what I want to do in order to get into that is I want to start with a little story.
There are some things that I don't understand. Some things I can't come to grip with. Sometimes I just look out in the world and think, why? Why me, God? Why this situation? Why them, Lord? Why this tribulation? Why? I've been down on my luck for a while. I mean, I don't even have an ace in the deck. Just empty hands with no patience that's left. I'm lost in the desert, no oasis. I guess I'm hung out to dry. Lips chapped, feet hurt in this weather. I thirst and I march on, hoping to find an answer. Just an inkling of faith in this world full of cancer would be a refreshing drip of water on the tip of my tongue. The fresh, cool breeze of Jehovah's lungs is exactly what I need. That feels so far away. I mean, God, are you really with me? Do you really care? When I cry in distress, are you really there? Your word says yes, but sometimes I doubt it. But clearly my own path needs rerouting, because every time I walk my own way, I get lost. And even though I'm lost in the desert, I now realize He created it. He knows where the water is. He made the sun. His creation is marvelous, and He is in control even when I fail. He is faithful even when I fall. He is what I need even when I doubt. He is fresh water in the midst of the drought. He is God and He is King. He is Lord and gives life to all things. He gives and takes away, and sometimes I just need to trust that He knows exactly what He is doing. When I am asleep, He is moving. When I fall, He is choosing to pick me back up with outstretched arms. Nothing that anyone does can separate me from His love, because He is faithful. He is true. He is good. He is God. And in the desert, I know He reigns.
You know, we live in a desert. We make jokes about how close to the sun we really are here. But I've lived here long enough to know there's lots of water in the desert, particularly when the monsoons come. He made the desert so He knows where the water is. You know, I know it's tough to trust God when all you can see is a dry and wasted land. I know it's difficult to trust Him when you watch too much news, when you look at the numbers too many times. I know it's difficult because it's just as difficult for me oftentimes. I wish I could say to you, oh man, just be a super Christian like me and you'll never feel stress. But if I said such a thing, I'd be the biggest liar in this room. Because I do feel the stress and I do have to shake off anxiousness just like all y'all. I have to push back against those voices and those pressures that want to drag me into depression because of everything that we see today. It shakes us. But if He is indeed the maker of the heavens and the earth, then that means He holds your destiny and mine in His hand. Now, I know emotionally that is difficult to trust. But how many of you know we've been studying through the Bible for quite a while now? We found evidence after evidence after evidence after evidence that we can trust this book. We have seen hundreds and hundreds of prophecies made thousands of years ago that were fulfilled to the letter. Only God can do this. We have seen one piece of evidence after another that we can trust that God exists, that the Bible is trustworthy. And since that is so, we are looking at Revelation. It's the last chapter, because the one who wrote chapter 1 also wrote Revelation. He has the bookends. He is the beginning and the end. He is the first and the last. And if you and I are truly called to face the last days, then what have we got to fear? I mean, we read about Revelation. We read about all of these dreadful things. But as we do, keep in mind that He told us in advance that He holds it in His hand. It's crucial, because every time I get down, I have to remind myself of that. Now, as we go through Revelation, I'm going to warn you once again. I know there's been a lot of teaching on this book. I know there's a lot of books out there that have been written about this book. I know there's a lot of popular ideas. But one of the most important things, now remember, you got people that argue, should we take this literally or should we take this figuratively, as if it's an all or nothing sort of thing. There are some parts of Revelation where it is very clear it is symbolic. It even says right in this represents this. That's symbolic. There are other things that appear to be quite literal, and if it appears that way and it makes sense, don't look for any other sense. It's not all or nothing. Is it all literal or all figurative? It's both and. And one of the things that we need to recognize and remember over and over and over again is that what John is writing down is a vision that he experienced. Do you remember me telling you that? And how many of you know that dreams can morph and change as you experience them? How many of you have had one too many jalapenos or whatever, and you had a really fun one? You know what I'm talking about? One of those dreams where all of a sudden, how many of you have ever had those flying dreams where you're flapping your wings and the monsters are just this close to your heels? How many of you have been there? Or you're running and you're trying to get somewhere and it's like going through molasses and you just cannot get going fast enough. Been there? Yes, it's very annoying. And, so we've got to keep in mind that Revelation is largely a dream. It is a vision. Now, is it inspired by God? Absolutely. Do the symbols and the things that we see have meaning? Yes, without a doubt. But keep in mind, John wrote down what he saw. It's a perfectly human book. He wrote down what he saw. It was like this, and then this happened, and then this happened. And we've got to be very, very careful. Very, very careful with how we look at Revelation, because it is a dream. Now, for example, I'll give you one thing. In Revelation chapter 1 second, you see Jesus with a sword coming out of his mouth. Now, how many of you know that if your tongue was an actual sword, it would be rather difficult to talk? But the next second, he sees Jesus as a normal person speaking to him. So 1 second, he sees this vision, and he's got stars in his hand and a sword coming out of his mouth, and his eyes are on fire, and then, and then it's you. You know what I mean? That's how the dream shifts and changes. We've got to be very, very, very careful with that. The other thing we have to be very careful about is the fact that a dream like this, a vision like this, prophecy like this, very, very, very often, the timelines are compressed. The timelines are compressed. Now, why is that important? Well, look at Isaiah chapter 61 and verse 2. It says this: to proclaim the favorable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God. Now, Isaiah 61 was being quoted by Jesus. And as he was quoting this verse to a synagogue, he read to proclaim the favorable year of the Lord. And then he stopped. Because remember, there was no verse divisions back then. There were no chapter divisions back then. And he stopped, apparently, right in the middle of a sentence. And then he sat down, and then he said, today, this scripture has been fulfilled in your hearing. And everybody was upset because he stopped to proclaim the favorable year of the Lord. In other words, what Jesus was saying, that the first coming of Mashiach, the Messiah, would be to proclaim the favorable year of the Lord. The "and" is a gap. That gap corresponds to what we see as the gap between Daniel chapter 9, when he talked about 69 weeks of years, and then a 70th week. So that "and," how long has that "and" been now? About 2,000 years. How many of you know that compressing 2,000 years into the word "and" is quite a compression rate? So when you look at prophecy, this is an example of it. Sometimes the timelines are compressed. So just because we read something in Revelation and then this happened and this, remember, "and" can be a rather lengthy time period. We don't know for sure. So it is not wise, what I'm saying, to be dogmatic about, well, this is going to happen, and then this, and then this, and it's going to happen exactly in this time period. Be careful with that. Be very, very careful with that. And as we go, I'll point out some of these things. Okay, so in Revelation chapter 5, which is what we're about to start, well, obviously that comes after chapter 4, but in chapter 4, it says twice, after these things. Twice it says that. Now, after what things? Most scholars believe after the events you see in Revelation chapter 1 through 3, which we call the church age. So we expect that everything from chapter 4 on is